And sometimes you just have to step outside of convenience. Sometimes you've got to go somewhere. Sometimes you have to walk on the property. Sometimes you have to find the verse that God is breathing on, and you camp there, and you make the decree of that particular passage, and you pray that verse, and you just, there's just the unwillingness to back off from an assignment because heaven has not yet invaded earth in that particular location. I remember what would be called our level of maturity, going back 40 some years ago, our level of maturity was quite small, but our prayers were very sincere. Yeah. And they were prayers of a spiritual child, and they moved heaven. Yeah. I mean, I could take you to a location here in town where drugs were pretty much dealt in the open. And there'd just be a line of people there, and it was out in the open. You could get anything, and we went down there one Friday night, and we just cried out to God, about 25 of us. We just got in a big circle, and the guy at that location came out and mocked us and called the police. And the police came and said, "What are you doing?" And our leader said, "We're praying for you." He said, "Keep it up," and left. But that place that was a center of drug dealing in the area, it never was again. It actually ended that night. I don't know what happened. And I was able to compare notes with a friend of mine who was a heavy drug user during that time, who later got saved. And we were talking about this particular location. And he said, "Yeah," he said, "the strangest thing happened. I went there one Saturday night. Now we prayed there Friday night." He said, "I went there one Saturday night to buy what I normally buy, and I couldn't find anybody there. There was no one there." And I said, "Yeah, we were there Friday night. That's why, because we were there Friday." And something happened. The Lord just took the simple prayers of about 25 of us that just cried out to God, "God, do something different here." And sometimes you just have to step outside of convenience. Sometimes you've got to go somewhere. Sometimes you have to walk on the property. Sometimes you have to find the verse that God is breathing on, and you camp there, and you make the decree of that particular passage, and you pray that verse, and you just, there's just the unwillingness to back off from an assignment because heaven has not yet invaded earth in that particular location. And there's an aspect of prayer that is the easiest aspect in the world to avoid. In fact, why don't you do this? Go to Galatians 4 and Colossians 4. Galatians 4 and Colossians 4. Galatians 4 is what we'll read first. Verse 18, "It's good to be zealous in good things always, and not only when I'm present with you. My little children, for whom I labor in birth again until Christ is formed in you." There's the phrase I want. I labor in birth again until Christ is formed in you. That's a very strange statement for a man to say. I'm in labor pains. I'm having labor pains until Christ is formed in you. That's what leaders do. See, the weightier responsibility, the weightier prayers, and they're not prayers that are easy, they're not prayers of convenience. But you have to remember, when you get up from prayer, put the oil on your face, so to speak, walk out to be with people, and don't carry that heaviness with you as you love and care for people. That's the big deal. It's not very complicated, but it's challenging. It's very simple, but it's challenging to carry out, where you get alone with the Lord and you do business with God. I don't know how else to say it. And nobody feels like they know what they're doing. Nobody gets before the Lord and says, "Well, I know what to do. I'll do steps 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll get the breakthrough." No. It's a relational journey, and you don't know what you're doing. So you get before your Father, you bring along His Word, and somehow you make it work until there's breakthrough. You read to get insight. You cry out to God, make your heart known. And in that place of vulnerability, he's able to adjust your heart when it needs to be adjusted. Sometimes he'll refine the focus. Sometimes he'll intensify it. But it's the prayer that says, I am unwilling to be satisfied with the discipline of prayer. I must be satisfied with the breakthroughs of prayer. See, many people have faith in prayer. It's kind of weird. It's faith in God. Look at Colossians 4. And this is the one that illustrates it best. However you say his name, I never did get it. Epaphras, Epi, who is one of you, a bondservant of Christ, greets you, always laboring fervently for you in prayers that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. Did you see that? Always laboring fervently. And the word here is labor, as in giving birth. In case you were thinking it was just diligence. Laboring. I was with my wife when she had all three of my kids. If I wasn't born again, I would probably worship her. I mean, what she went through, my goodness gracious, honestly. That's a joke, but you get the point. It's stunning what they go through. I remember when she was giving birth to our last child, Leah, there was others in the room, and I turned to have a conversation, and I felt this grip on my arm that caused me to repent. I did not know we were in a moment and that she needed my complete undivided attention in that moment. And that's what laboring prayers do. They are always unto something. Laboring prayers are not glamorous. They are not anything you want to talk about afterwards, but you're certainly ready and willing to celebrate the breakthrough. It's the child. I remember when we first got married, Benny wanted 7 children. And right after Eric was born, she wanted 1. It completely rearranged her perspective. But it took a little while, then she was ready to go again. But so here's this interesting statement. It says, always laboring fervently for you in prayers. So that labor of Galatians could easily be described as efforts in prayer, that you may stand perfect and complete. Yeah, I'm so glad that you watched this video. I do pray that it's a great, great strength and encouragement to you. And I've got a verse that really is my cry for all of us. And it's Psalms 20, it's verse 4. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. That's my prayer. That's my prayer, is that this would be the season of rich, rich fulfillment. Thanks for joining us.